All right, let me read the statement. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the West Newbury Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and a requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town website at www.wnewbury.org. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen or watch the meeting may do so in the manner described in the agenda. And this meeting is being recorded.
Okay, well, Wendy, the last time we had to hire someone, I think you and Judy did the interviews.
Yeah.
So
we have to establish a hiring subcommittee,
Yeah.
and that subcommittee's work can be in executive session because it's related to hiring. So that's how we handled it before. All of our meetings and discussions were in executive session. And then once we had candidates, once we interviewed the first round of candidates, we brought that to the commission, and that was an open session, those interviews.
Have you looked to see if there's anybody listed on the MACC website that's looking for a job, or are there any postings at all?
No, I mean, there are postings of commissions looking for people.
We're looking for people.
Yeah.
Are you looking for part-time?
No. So one bit of good news is that Judy was able to talk to Jay Smith, and he is willing to help us out if we cannot find somebody by the time Bert leaves.
Okay.
So I think that's good news. Gives us some flexibility. So Molly, would you be interested in being on the subcommittee with Judy? Can you manage that?
Yep.
I mean, I have the ad and all the places that I posted it before. So, I mean, all of that legwork's done. So it'll be mostly reviewing resumes and, hopefully, and interviewing people.
Okay. So is the ad basically the same thing as we posted last time, or is it?
Well, I think this might be a good opportunity for us to kind of, rethink it a little bit. I mean, some of the issues are, the additional 5 hours for the land agent work.
Here comes Judy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
how to work that in, but then there's also, we set up the admin part to be paid out of the revolving fund. Maybe now is a good time to try to find if there's somebody in-house already that could do those admin hours. I think it would be easier to have a part-time position of 20 hours so that person could find another part-time. If you make it 25 hours, that's a little bit more challenging to have two part-time jobs.
Right.
So I mean, those are some of the issues that I think we need to come to some kind of agreement on. But to answer your question, Molly, I have the, what we used before, and it would just be a matter of, kind of marking it up and editing it. And before we advertised on the MACC website, and then we did take out an ad on the Mass Municipal Association website. That's not free, but that gets a lot of views.
Foot traffic, yeah.
Where did we get the most responses from?
Well, we only got 2 responses, Judy. So.
Oh,
yeah. I was going to say there weren't very
from.
I think they were from the MACC. So, yeah. So I guess we can discuss whether, or you guys can discuss whether you want to spend the money to advertise on the Mass Municipal site.
If we didn't get any responses last time, I'm not sure it's worth it. And we might start with the MACC and see
what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Angus. My office has covered the advertising costs for a lot of personnel ads, and I can do that. I would definitely think we'd want to put it in the MMA.
Okay. If you're paying for it, we'll do it.
Sure.
Okay. It's your tax dollars.
No, that's true. So Judy, Molly said she would work with you on the subcommittee.
Great, terrific.
Yeah.
So where are the documents we used last time?
I have them all, so I have them in a file, and I'll share that with both of you,
Okay.
and we can go from there. So I don't know, when you came on, we were talking about how to structure the position, whether it should be a 25-hour, including the land agent hours, or whether we should do just a 20-hour, including those, and then have the admin hours be given to an admin person. I mean, that was my
Right.
long-term vision for, setting it up that way.
But is there an admin person available who has some understanding of the kinds of administrative needs we have?
Well, I think most other departments that have hearings and public filings and all of that, I mean, it's the same kind of process. So they may not have conservation experience, but I would hope that pretty quickly they could handle that. Angus, what do you think about that?
Is there someone who has time, who is in this building, who has extra time?
Yeah, that's what we need to check into.
Right. Yeah, I think that's the question. I agree with what Wendy said, that the nature of the administrative support is not dissimilar from what some other departments have. The issue, I think, would be, is there someone in the building who wants to take on extra hours? I don't think there's someone in the building who's got kind of the downtime to build it into their work schedule. I think it would be a matter of adding hours, and I don't know if I'm going to be interested in that.
Could you find out?
Yep.
Thank you.
I just in the last 2 days, there's not been the time to do that.
That's okay.
So I had put 3 hours a week for Bert, but at his rate, so I think we could probably do 5 hours for an admin rate, if we wanted to do that, and then keep 20 hours for the agent technical, including the land agent work. I mean, that's kind of what I've been batting around, but I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, we had 22 hours for the land agent and for Bert.
Mm-hmm.
So
and now we have 25 hours total at Bert's rate. 3 of that is being paid out of the revolving fund.
Okay, so then, and I'd say that at least 3 hours were administrative.
Mm-hmm.
So that would give you 5 administrative hours and 20. So that would work.
Yep. So one thing, excuse me, we may want to do is take a look at the job description, incorporate the land agent stuff, and maybe think about, Angus needs to be
removing the administrative tasks.
Yeah, and think also about long-term what you want from that position. I mean, could that land agent role be more involved in conservation, properties, looking at, potential purchases and that kind of thing. I don't know if you want to kind of lay the groundwork for that, if that position could grow into it, or it could be added later,
it would seem to make sense to try to roll in, like the invasives work into something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so as painful as this is, it might be a good opportunity to kind of rethink how, the department is structured, and, if we can make some changes that benefit everybody,
I think you also have to wait and see what you get for responses.
Well, I think if we make the position more interesting and more technically challenging, we may get better responses. That's my hope anyway.
I think that we have to have in the job description what we are looking for. You
Right.
can't just wait until you get a response and then change the position afterwards. So I think we do want to add the land agent, just parts of the job, describe them, and maybe say that there is depending on the time too, because you don't know how much time you're going to have beyond that to add on things like invasives work is going to depend on what kind of filings you've got and how much time you need to address the ongoing project.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So, but we can word it as a potential for, depending on time availability, looking at adding these other issues.
Yeah. One thing I would like to see that we talked about when we added the land agent hours is having the agent go to the monthly open space committee meetings. I think there needs to be a more direct link between that committee and the land agent. I think they would appreciate that in terms of trails, being able to give input on trails. So, I mean, it's 1 hour a month. And if now that we have 5 hours for that role, it seems like that could be absorbed. If you think that's a good idea.
I think it's a really good idea, Wendy. I really
Yeah,
do.
take everybody out of their silos a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay.
In terms of advertising, I know you talked about this, but just to throw out an idea, is there any interest in seeing if Hamilton might want to jointly post a full-time position? Or alternatively, Bert told me earlier this week, I haven't been able to confirm this, but he said he thinks that Groveland is maybe looking to hire an agent. I did reach out to the finance director. I haven't heard back, but let's say Groveland would there be any interest in exploring posting a joint position with some other community and advertising it at full time, which could expand the candidate pool?
Well, I think that depends on whether that community is looking to hire now, because that would obviously require both communities to agree on the same person.
Well, we know Hamilton is, right?
Well, Hamilton would be, but Groveland, isn't it only 10 hours a week?
Bert said he thought it was 10 to 15, and I don't know. That's a big difference, because if it's 15 and if we want 25, that could work nicely. And anything over 20, as you know, in West Newbury is benefits eligible.
Right. So you would be talking about leaving the administrative, if you're talking 25, you're talking about leaving the administrative functions with the conservation agent?
Not necessarily. It's not, I don't think it's mutually exclusive. I mean, let's just say West Newbury was 20 for the agent, and let's say Groveland was 15, and so it's 35. That's still a benefits eligible, effectively full-time position.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Does the benefits, they come half and half out of the towns, or?
Well, that would be one of, in my view, that would be one of the potential benefits of explicitly working with another town rather than kind of informally, because right now, for instance, we split a building inspector. We pay all the benefits, even though that person's got employment elsewhere. So.
And the same with Bert. I mean, we paid the benefits, and Hamilton had him for 20 hours without. So.
I mean, I'm just wondering whether someone wants to work in both Groveland and West Newbury are close together. Hamilton is not. Depends where this person lives and how much they want to travel. I mean, Bert was, up in Gloucester, so.
Yeah, but if you found someone in between, it all depends who's looking right now.
Yeah, right.
But I think if you could sell it as a full-time position, you'd get a lot better response.
And they'd stay longer.
So Angus, with
that. There are some downsides to that, obviously. I mean, let's say one community or the other is pleased with the performance and the other isn't. So there are some potential complications. Mm-hmm. And I'm just putting it out there as an idea, not as a specific proposal. It would need to be thought through. I just wanted to raise it as whether it's something the commission's open to.
I think we had talked about that before.
Yes, I know we've talked about it before.
So really, I think it would be a matter of reaching out to the respective conservation commissions and seeing whether you feel like you could, because it will require some level of, collaboration between the two commissions, right? And to make this work.
on both the hiring and the kind of the personnel side of things.
Yeah. Angus, do you have any experience with towns doing that? I mean,
Only in that I was a town planner, I had colleagues who split time in neighboring towns. It's not something I've ever directly, other than here in West Newbury, it's not something I've ever had any involvement with.
Okay.
But it doesn't sound like there's any harm, at least, reaching out to, I mean, I did go ahead and email the finance director in Groveland just to see if it's true that they're looking, and I haven't heard back. I did not reach out to Hamilton, but doesn't sound like there's any harm in at least asking the question. Not, it may not lead to anything, but if they're open to it, is something we could consider.
But then if Hamilton pays more than West Newbury, do we have to raise the salary so that both towns are paying the same amount hourly?
I think there'd be a strong argument to do that. I don't know that we'd have to, but I think it would make, it would make logical sense to do that. You don't want someone feeling more allegiance to one town or the other.
Right. I mean, and would someone want to take a position if they're going to make more money in another
Well, that's
community?
just it.
Do we know what the pay difference is?
yeah, well, Hamilton was advertising at $30 an hour when we hired Bert, and we offered him 26 or whatever it was to start. But he was getting benefits through West Newbury. I mean, you have to consider that. That's a cost to the town that that Hamilton did not have to pay. So Angus, would that first step come from you reaching out to the administrators, like the finance director, whoever in those towns, or would it come from the commission?
I think it would come from me as the kind of the personnel person. I don't think there's any harm in multiple outreach as long as we're in coordination. I mean, I think there's, but yeah, my thought would be, I don't have any relationship in Hamilton. I would just see if, I assume there's a town administrator or something who I would probably start there. Groveland, you may know, they have an interim finance director right now who's only 19 hours a week. And I just know from working with him on some other matters that he's totally drowning. So I don't know how responsive he's going to be.
Yeah, when I had originally, when we were advertising Bert's position, I did talk to the Groveland agent, and she told me that the agent's salary is paid entirely from filings. So I don't know whether that would be a complicating factor or not.
It sure sounds like a complicating factor.
Yeah. So, well, it sounds like it's worth even seeing whether that's an option to maybe co-advertise with Hamilton and then, work.
Yeah, they've got it. They have a town manager there.
Yeah. And then knowing that we have Jay to kind of cover maybe for the summer or whatever amount of time, that gives some more time to evaluate whether you want to pursue this or not,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think we want to do things sooner rather than later, because I don't think that Jay is interested in doing this on a long-term basis.
No, but I'm just saying we don't have to advertise tomorrow. We have a couple of weeks to maybe explore these other options and then decide how to proceed.
Right. I think we need a couple of weeks to just kind of review the documents and change and amend them.
Yep. Okay.
All right, so you and Molly have to
so do we need to vote on that?
To vote for them as being on
All
a
right,
subcommittee?
I move to appoint Molly Hawkins and Judy Meisner as the hiring subcommittee for the agent position.
Second.
Any further?
Wendy,
discussion?
is there any further discussion?
No.
Wendy?
Aye.
Dawn?
Aye.
Molly?
Aye.
Judy? Aye. So Angus, you will keep us informed as to your contacts with Hamilton and Groveland?
I sure will.
Okay, and Molly, I'll give you a call.
Okay, sounds good.
And Wendy, you will get the documents to us?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Angus, was there anything else that you wanted to touch on as far as job responsibilities or?
No, I did meet with Bert. You know, he's had a very favorable experience working here in West Newbury. You know, it's no surprise, as any of us knew. You know, we knew we might lose him or any qualified half-time person who's going to obviously be looking for a full-time job. You know, but he's had a really good experience, and we're sorry to see him go. Wish him the best.
Yeah.
I think he'll be very successful.
Okay. All right.
So that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I had put the bylaw on the agenda in case we had time, but Molly needs to leave at 6:30, and I'm not sure 10 minutes is enough time to wade into what we need to do to get ready for this at fall town meeting.
Okay.
Except for Angus, you had mentioned that Mike McCarron had some concerns about legal parts of it. Do you want to share that, or?
Sure. Yeah, let me pull up his memo. He'd had a couple of things that.
Maybe you could send us the memo.
Well,
Yeah.
it's you know, it's to the selectmen, and so they have to kind of release the privilege. He marks, you know, everything he does, he marks as privileged, and so. But I can certainly paraphrase it, but.
Sure.
I know, you know, there's some language in there that he referenced about the town shall defend, you know, appeals, and he made the point that that's, you know, under legislation, that's the select board's decision of whether to defend or not. So he flagged that language as problematic. I know he noted that the obviously a local bylaw wouldn't apply to 40B, and so he did raise a concern as to whether, if things go too far, could that inadvertently push developers more toward 40B.
I think that some people don't realize that the state regulations cover intermittent streams and the buffer zone up to 100 feet from them.
From intermittent streams?
Intermittent streams, yeah.
Because that came up when we were doing the high school. Because it was very, you know, they made the distinction that that was an intermittent stream that runs from the pond.
That's right, but that's the difference between the 100 and 200 foot buffer zone under state regulations. If it's perennial, it's a river and is subject to the River Protection Act, which is 200 feet. If it's intermittent, it's the 100 foot buffer.
Well,
I'm sorry, Angus, what was his other concern?
I was going to say, could you get permission from Mike to maybe send us some kind of written statement of his
Yeah.
concern?
Yep. Yeah, and that's, you know, we had intended to do that. It's been very busy. So
Can he do that before our next meeting?
Yeah, I think so. He's out on, he left on vacation today. He comes back next I think next Wednesday. So he'll have a couple of work days before the end of next week.
Well, in the interim, were there other issues that he had?
Yeah, so I'll just, and I can, he said the first paragraph under section 8 purports to grant the commission the power to look beyond an application and deny or restrict activities on the property based on past activities, which may have nothing to do with the applicant or the application, or based on the commission's perceptions of potential future activities. And then he cites the language, and he goes on to say there's no definition of what constitutes elsewhere in the community. So a landowner could be prevented from an activity as benign as an addition to an existing house based upon some past act or some projected act in the community.
Okay.
He, under definitions, he's noting that some of the definitions expand the jurisdiction. For example, vernal pools include pools beyond the scientific definitions. under the Wetlands Protection Act and eliminate the size restriction for a pond. Their jurisdiction would include incremental activities which may have a cumulative adverse impact.
And he's saying this is a legal problem, expanding the definition beyond the state parameters?
No, I don't. He's not saying it's unlawful. He's making the.
Okay, I thought he had legal issues that.
Well, I think the key legal issue that he had is this language about upon request of the commission, the Board of Selectmen and Town Council shall take legal action for enforcement under civil law.
Okay.
Which he believes is a unconstitutional interference with the executive powers of the select board.
Okay. Now I was just wondering if there were any other legal issues that he had. I mean, I'm certainly interested in the others, but I was just wondering about his legal concerns.
I think that's the main legal concern. The rest of this, I think, falls into him just wanting to make the select board aware of some of the ramifications of the bylaw as drafted.
Okay.
Dawn, did Bert forward the comments, the additional comments from the select board to you so that we can discuss them at the next meeting?
I don't have those. I sat in the office with him yesterday morning and we were discussing them. I know he
Okay.
has. So
Angus, could you forward that maybe to Dawn so that we have?
Sure. Yeah, there was. I think the questions that I had sent Bert were pretty. Let me pull those up, and yeah, I can forward those. Let's see.
Molly, if you have to step off, that's fine.
I don't know what time it
I
is.
know. You know, Archie had asked the question. He asked it on Monday night as well about whether the language may require DPW to seek an order of conditions to do roadway maintenance, paving, crack seal, and plowing, salting. So I don't know if you have an answer to that.
Well, now if they're doing work in they come in and get orders now for work if it's in the buffer zone.
I think Archie's concerned, he's tying this to this idea of roadside ditches being regulated.
Yeah, I know, they are regulated.
They are regulated.
Under state law, they're
Yeah.
regulated.
Well-
We've never, paving the cracks has never been anything that doesn't, it's not in the wetlands, it's on a roadway. It's not you're not altering any vegetation, you're not altering anything, so.
And if they were doing like repaving, they would have to put up siltation barriers anyway, right?
If they were disturbing the soil.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Which they've had to do all along. It's nothing new.
Yeah.
I mean, filling in cracks is different from repaving the road.
So it sounds like there's a straightforward answer. We just weren't able to get the questions before the meeting, that's all. So.
Well, the one about the mailbox, didn't we reply to that?
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
So someone just didn't bother to read what we had
No,
written.
I think there's a perception that has to be dealt with, or other people are going to raise the same issue at town meetings. So I think we just have to, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Be prepared, or maybe ahead of time draft some kind of summary of what you can do now and what you can do under the bylaw, and make it very clear, that really nothing is changing as far as those kinds of activities. So.
Which response on the mailboxes?
That was at the meeting.
Yes.
Selectmen.
Okay.
We discussed the mailbox, and that changing out one pole for another is not an activity that would be regulated.
Yeah.
So that was a response to the question that we were sent.
Right, but Glenn wasn't at that meeting, and so he brought it up again last Monday. So that was the the issue.
But didn't they get a written response?
That was not, the mailbox was not a written question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just knew we had discussed it.
Yeah, that came up at the meeting.
I'm gonna jump off. for
Okay,
2.
Molly,
Thank
thanks.
you, Molly.
Okay.
Lisa, can I just say that if you have changes to the bylaw, explanations of changes to the bylaw, frequently asked questions about the bylaw, I would be happy to help you put that on your website. You just need to get the content because I can't do that. But if you get the content, I'd be happy to help you with that.
You're
Thanks.
so
Yeah,
awesome.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, we will
We just have to get them to read
content first.
the website.
Okay, are we good?
I think we are good.
Yeah, so continue this discussion at the next meeting about the bylaw
Yes.
or what our plan of attack is. Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right,
Okay.
thanks,
Move
Angus.
to
Thanks,
adjourn.
All right, thanks.
Smile.
See you soon, Judy.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.